Welcome to another edition of the Stew with JT Brew. I'm your host, Justin Taylor, alongside Bryan Toast Clark. We bring you NHL Around the Ice with JT and Toast. Up next, here we talk player prop bets and season long bets. Stick with us. You're in the stew.
You up on trades and why you move, you ain't designed to lose. Find you jumping over seemingly nothing, racking up points, makes the game a little more fun to watch. Can drop release, we started with the mock draft and now we making a mockery of the leaderboard. Quite obviously not a scrub, so start an institute, make evaluations like a commissioner do. It's to the point your wife make you watch in a different room. Update your roster and pick and choose when you get some news. Not much that we enjoy more than sifting through through new statistics to make it to our end zones through different routes. Universities, institutes, down to homies who click in groups. I introduce you to the Stew with JT Brew.
Thanks for joining us here in the stew. We are usually on Wednesday nights for NHL Around the Ice, but we are jumping in on a Monday because hockey season starts tomorrow. We got to get our player props and our season-long prop bets in before everything kicks off. Toast, great to have you. Let's jump in here with our Toast takes and kind of see what we like. What do we like this year? We're going to start things off with a little player props and awards. Future awards, Hart Trophy, League MVP. What are we looking at?
JT, I would say for all of the gamblers out there that are willing to lay a whole lot of money and they got pretty big bankroll, you can't go wrong with McDavid at minus 105 even money, right? I mean, so definitely go ahead and tackle that. But for the casual bettor, you're going to be looking for other favorites like Nathan McKinnon for Colorado and Leon Draisaitl, who actually partners over there with McDavid in Edmonton. And, Matthew Tkachuk as well. So Tkachuk is a plus 1,200. Draisaitl's a plus 1,000. McKinnon's a plus 900. Matthews plus 1,600. And Pasternak is plus 2,000, but I tell you, the one I really like, I would think that has really good value is Jack Hughes at plus 1,800 for New Jersey. They've done a ton to actually help him out. They are loaded on their top six. I mean, and they got great defense there. The goalie situation, I believe, will be good, but nevertheless, I think they're going to win a ton of games. They're going to go pretty deep into playoffs. I think this is Hughes' or third or fourth season in the league. So he's rounded out into his own. He's over 100 point per player game last year, and at plus 1,800, I believe that probably has the best value of any of those favorite picks.
Yeah, I like Hughes there too. I just think Jersey is going to be a lot better this year. And like you said, McDavid, it's so hard not to take him in a season-long award to be minus 105 is pretty ridiculous to start out on the minus side to win MVP in a league. But man, we've seen it. McDavid is the man. So like you said, if you have a lot of money and you just want to take that award, I can see you jump on that. What are some kind of crazy long shots here if you're really looking to go, way above, you're saying, hey, where's that big plus that I can get on the plus side and maybe take a Hail Mary shot at a Hart Trophy? If you're like, plus 1,800 for Hughes, what's something that's even a little longer than that kind of be kind of crazy?
Yeah, I would say Jack Eichel is at plus 5,000 over in Vegas. The problem with Eichel is he's often injured. Last year, he's actually healthy for most of the year, and that's why he ended up putting up a ridiculously good season. They end up winning the cup. But Eichel at 5,000 is really good. Elias Pettersson in Vancouver, he's at plus 6,000. That's another flyer. I mean, he's put $5 on it, right? So win yourself $300 there. I mean, so your guy over in Detroit, Dylan Larkin, I mean, you're getting real crazy, right? Plus 30,000, but nevertheless, again, they're getting closer to being out of their rebuild. I think that they're maybe one more year away to saying, okay, we are definitely like ready to roll. But I mean, again, these are large stabs here, and why not put a couple dollars down? But the one I actually like the best is Alexander Barkov over in Florida. And I'm going to probably bring up his name quite a bit on this podcast tonight because he just seems to be a player that's really going to bounce back. He didn't really have a bad season last year, but for the Barkov, norm, he he was a little off, but man, they end up going to the Cup Finals last year. That you can get Barkov at plus 10,000 for this Hart Trophy. So really like that one too.
Yeah, you take a team like Florida that made it to the finals last year. If you end up being the best team on a team that makes it to the finals, you got a decent shot. So I'd love that Barkov bet at plus 10,000 is pretty crazy. I mean, he could go off, and if they are one of the better teams in the league this year again, I could see something like that happening. So that's a pretty interesting bet for me as well. Let's jump over to best defenseman Norris Trophy. Who do you like for Norris? As we saw some crazy things happen last year, some good odds if you were looking at betting some of the long shots. Who are you liking this year?
Yeah, so you got the usual suspects, Cale Makar at plus 190, and these are all according to DraftKings. I really haven't got on FanDuel and checked some other platforms out, but Adam Fox at plus 500. But really, the ones I like best, Rasmus Dahlin at plus 800. And actually, Dahlin just signed a huge contract, an 8-year deal worth $88.8 million. He's not going anywhere. They locked up him, and we talked about in the last podcast him being one of the big three over in Buffalo. He's definitely the big three. He's not going anywhere. Quinn Hughes at plus 1,400 as well over in Vancouver. That's a really good one as far as those favorites go. You got Charlie McAvoy at plus 1,400, and also you got Miro Heiskanen. I really like Miro Heiskanen at plus 1,400 as well. Dallas, their windows now, and they got the goaltending, they got the defense, they got an unbelievably talented top line. You got Hintz, Robertson, Pavelski. They're deep with veterans as well, with like Ben, people like that. So I really like Dallas. A lot of the times these awards or end up given to players that are on really good teams, minus what happened last year, of course, with Erik Karlsson being on an awful San Jose team and scoring over 100 points and actually winning the Norris. That doesn't happen too often, right? So I really like Heiskanen there in Dallas.
Yeah, Karlsson was a guy that a few spots had him last year for really good money. Like, he was a great Hail Mary shot. I knew a couple people took him. I tried to get on him, and one of the only books that had him available for the Norris Trophy MVP was a spot in Illinois where they wouldn't let us bet on that site because it wasn't a legal spot in Illinois. So it was a tough one because I was trying to jump on there and get it. I saw a couple sites like talking about it. I'm like, ooh, I really like that. I was like, what if he does just have a ridiculous year? You know what happened? He had a ridiculous year. And again, like you said, scored a ton of points on a terrible team, but it was such a big bounce back for him that people were all over it. So that's why you say you never know with some of these crazy Hail Mary bets. If you could get the right price, it's worth a couple bucks to take a shot on it. So now that we talked about that with Karlsson, who's maybe the new Karlsson for this year? DK, long shots on DK. Who do you like here?
Well, we'll stay with Karlsson. They got him at plus 2,000, and they come out with the lines yesterday. It looks like Letang will end up going to line 2 on a power play. Karlsson will get that top deployment, the quarterback in that top power play as well. Plus 2,000 is really good for a guy who just come off a 100-point season as defenseman. As always with him, it's always been health. I mean, and again, last year he was healthy all year. I mean, so if he can stay healthy again, he's on a better team. Oh, I mean, way better players as well. I mean, all around. So Karlsson at 2,000 is really good. Here's a couple other names I like. Dougie Hamilton's at plus 2,500. Again, we talked about New Jersey and how good they're going to be. And Josh Morrissey, plus 3,000. And over in Winnipeg, your guy Morris Seider, 4,000. Again, do I think Seider's going to win this award? No, I don't think he will. But 4,000. I mean, come on. But really, a guy who I think that people should be having an eye on for a long shot would be Evan Bouchard. So him actually being able to quarterback that top power play in Edmonton. He had a great preseason here. I know it's only a couple games, but man, he's already clicking on that power play at plus 4,000. But I tell you, JT, the one I like best out of all the awards we're going to talk about tonight, all of the future plays, this is the one I like best if you're just wanting to throw a little bit of money for a long shot. Mikhail Sergachev for Tampa Bay, plus 10,000. So hanging out with a buddy last night, and I told him, hey, you need to get on this at plus 10,000. And he went to DraftKings, got on. Guess what? He's at plus 5,000 now. They cut that in half already. I saw that. I'm like, how is he plus 10,000?
I saw that bet. I loved it at plus 10,000. I loved it at plus. When you said that and we looked at it, I was like, plus 10,000. I was like, on a team that's going to be legit good. I'm like, oh my goodness. I was like, I am loving this. And like, and just like the betting market, it happens when stuff comes out and people see it. And there's certain things that kind of stick out to, obviously a decent amount of the betting market. You see those lines move quick, and sometimes you got to get on stuff fast. And yeah, like you said, he's already been cut in half. As obviously we weren't the only ones that looked at it and said, "Ooh, I kind of like that one."
Yeah, it's I mean, the only reason he's down there at plus 10,000 and now plus 5,000 is the fact that he's competing with his own teammate Victor Hedman on that team as well. But they've already said that Sergachev's going to be power play one to start. Again, it's a long season. Lots could actually happen. Hedman's got the pedigree. Sergachev had a crazy good season last year. They want it to be both of them, but they really want to pass this to him. So that is, if you can get him at plus 5,000 still, throw a couple bucks on it. I mean, hey, throw $10 on it. You'd be foolish not to. That's, to me, out of all these we'll talk about tonight, this is the best one.
Moving on to the next award, one of my favorite awards. I always, you always love the young guys. You like to see who's going to bust out. Calder Trophy, the best rookie. Who are we looking at there? What are we liking?
Well, there's only one favorite, and that's Connor Bedard, minus 140. It's him, and it's everybody else. So given the fact that he's 18 years old, I was just texting with somebody and saying, what do you think Bedard will do this year? And I said, I think he's going to have 76 points. I just spitballed it. 33 goals, 43 assists. All right. And I'm like, yeah, but he's just turned 18. He's just a kid. How is he going to stay healthy? The guy is sneaky strong. His legs are huge. He's built like an ox for an 18-year-old. And he plays in front of the net, surprisingly. For a kid that young, a center, I watched him in the preseason. He played 3 preseason games. He was in front of the net a lot. I'm like, that's odd. But again, he just naturally actually goes there. So I don't really see injuries being an issue. But again, at minus 140, it's a long season. Injuries can actually happen. McDavid wasn't a Calder winner because he was hurt most of his rookie season. So at minus 140, I would not bet that. But again, if those high rollers, those guys actually with a lot of bankroll, hey, they'll be betting that, and they should. But I like some other ones a lot better, JT.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously Bedard. You're a Hawks fan. We want to see Bedard go off. It would be fantastic. But yeah, minus 140. You're eating a little bit of the juice there. Is there anything else we like with some guys that are a little bit of long shot? Say maybe Bedard does get banged up a little bit. Say he misses some games. The Hawks are as bad as we think they're going to be. Who are some guys that can maybe sneak in and steal this award for him?
Yeah, Logan Cooley's getting a lot of traction over in Arizona, but he will not really have, I would say, some line mates of in Arizona. He's not going to probably be on the first line. He likely will be on the first power play, I would imagine. But he's at plus 800. I like him, but there's a couple guys I like better. Fantelli, who ended up being the third pick overall in the draft, probably the second best player behind Bedard in this last draft. It was everybody thought that he was going to go ahead and be on top line with Patrick Line over there and Columbus, but now recently he's not playing with them. So plus 1100, still not bad odds there at all. But there's a couple of guys I like better. Matthew Nyes, we talked about him on I think our first podcast on him actually maybe taking some time away from William Nylander. But him getting a top 6 deployment over in Toronto at plus 3,000. And this guy, again, he's always been a point per game player, whether it be in college or whether it be in juniors as well. So you can't go wrong with that. Zach Benson for Buffalo, he has had an amazing preseason. And again, it's preseason, we get it, but again, he's just drafted this year. He's 18 years old. He's really been passing the eye test during preseason at plus 3,500, playing on a team like Buffalo, who is, they're popular. They're everybody's sexy pick this year, right? And then Matt Coronado, Matt Coronado over in Calgary, another guy who's had a really, really good preseason, plus 4,000. He's been going a lot of fantasy hockey drafts, especially dynasty, very, very early in dynasties and whatnot. But those are the other guys I like. But look out for Nyes, Benson, and Coronado for your long shot plays.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, anytime you get a guy that's on a loaded roster, like Buffalo, I just think those are guys you want to look at because again, other players around him play really well, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh hey, like this guy could put up points. He could end up, if that team plays really well, that gets him, more eyes on him. So I love that idea with him too as well.
Yeah, and JT,
Vezina Trophy.
I'll tell you real quick
ahead.
before we go to right before we go to Vezina Trophy, and that's why Bedard's the favorite. Bedard is going to drive his line as an 18-year-old at minus 140. He's going to drive that line. Everybody's going to benefit from him. All these other players, they have to rely on other players. And that's what separates Bedard from all of them, is because Nyes needs actually to be playing with Matthews. He needs to be playing with Nylander or Tavares. Coronado's actually got to be up there with Johnny. With all the top guys there in Calgary, and same thing with Zach Benson. He's got to be playing with Tage Thompson. He's got to be playing with the Skinners and the Tucks. But again, Bedard, they're lucky to play with him. So that's what makes him so special. But so it comes down to Bedard, but if you're looking at elsewhere, always look at who they're playing with.
Yeah, let's now let's jump in the Vezina Trophy. Best goaltender. This one again, like you said, it almost always depends on health, who stays healthy and who's on a really good team. Because typically, goaltending is an award that goes to a guy that's on a team that wins a lot. Even if you get a million saves, if your team loses a lot and you get a lot of L's on the stat sheet, doesn't help you. So who are we looking at here as some of the favorites? And then we'll talk about our long shots after that.
Yeah, the favorites are the usual suspects of Sorokin and Saros and Shesterkin. They're all around plus 400 to plus 600. Connor Hellebuck, who actually just signed that big deal today, 7-year deal. I believe he's making $8.5 million over there in Winnipeg. He's not going anywhere at plus 700. But my favorite out of all of these favorites is Jake Ottinger. Ottinger for Dallas, if you can get him at plus 1,200, that to me, out of the favorites, those guys right around 1,000, plus 1,000 or under, he's the best one. And what all these guys have in common, they're all guys that they're not going to be challenged by teammates actually taking in net. It's theirs. It's always going to be theirs. They're the volume starters, So you talked about this award's going to go to usually the goalie, the most wins, best save percentage, or whatnot. So those volume starters are going to be those guys. You're not going to have the guys splitting 50-50. There's going to be a Vezina. So that's why I'm not going to be betting goaltender. I'm not going to be betting Vezina Trophy because, again, the goalies are so volatile. They can't be trusted. I would just stay away from all of these. But the long shots, I do actually like, JT. Again, it comes back to good teams, right? So Alexander Georgiev for Colorado, plus 2,500. He had over 40 wins last year. Colorado was banged up a lot last year. They're still actually going to be without Landeskog all season as well. I mean, but nevertheless, that's the best value pick, I think. And then you got Bobrovsky at 4,000. Bobrovsky wasn't all that great all last season, but man, come Stanley Cup playoffs time, he was amazing. I mean, so you got to consider 4,000 Bobrovsky.
You just never know with Bob. Bob is like that guy. Again, we talked about Florida. If Florida ends up balling out like they did again last year and Bob plays well, I could easily see him winning this at plus 4,000. But you like you said, you never know. Who are we getting? which one are we getting? Are we getting playoff Bob, or are we getting regular season Bob, who was like, he wasn't that great? I mean, I took a shot at in our home league, and I took him. I'm like, I'm hoping Florida is just pretty good, and he like benefits from Florida being good. But man, yeah, it's goalie. I feel like is one of the toughest things to bet. And I just feel like it is. Like, how many times have we seen a team go into the playoffs and randomly a guy who was not even their starter most of the year ends up getting hot and playing awesome in the playoffs, and you're like, where did this dude come from? And then they disappear, or they're terrible the next year. It just happens all the time.
Happened last year. Your Vegas Golden Knights, your Stanley Cup champs, Aiden Hill, and I mean, geez, they end up having 3 goalies and end up mattering for them. And their main goalie, he's on long-term IR. I mean, so that was goalie by committee there. Logan Thompson carried them through the regular season. Aiden Hill comes in and actually takes them to the Cup. And these guys aren't on anybody's radars. I mean, so the Vezina Trophy winner from last year, Linus Ullmark, and really it has to be Ullmark because Boston ended up putting up the most team points in the league history during the regular season last year. Got bounced in the first round of the playoffs. This kind of goes to show you. But I'll be staying away from this one, JT. I'm not gonna get anywhere close to the goaltenders this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's just a bet I don't want to make. It's just too likely that someone's going to get hurt, or who knows who's going to get hot. So I agree with you. I like to stay away from goaltender prop bets altogether. Let's take it. This is always a fun one. I always have to put some money on this because I just don't care. I have to take somebody. But the Rocket Richard Trophy, most goals scored regular season. I had a pretty nice hefty bet on Draisaitl last year. Was it last year or the year before? I had a free bet on DraftKings, and I threw it on at our draft. And man, he came so close. I think he ended up finishing third by like a couple goals. But I had a nice little prop on Draisaitl plus 700. I think it was 2 years ago on that. He just missed. Yeah. So let's talk about some of our favorites here and who we like.
Yeah, so for the Rocket Richard, I mean, you got to start with McDavid. Last year he had 64 goals. He made a point last year to come out and score goals. He's like, I'm going to go ahead and continue to assist, but I want to score more goals. McDavid's just he's the best. He wants to be great at everything. He is. They even got him on a penalty kill this year as well. He's going to get a lot of shorthanded goals. I guarantee he'll end up getting 4 or 5 shorthanded goals this upcoming season. But he's at plus 220, and he's shown he's always healthy. To me, that would be the bet. If I was going to bet one of these favorites, you got Austin Matthews, and Matthews was a little down last year. When I say a little down, 40 goals, right? But we're used to him actually being around 55 to 60 goals. So he was a little down last year. I expect him to bounce back. He's at plus 550. Leon Draisaitl's at plus 700. To me, for the best value among these favorites, he's the play. So last year, he's at 52 goals. He's been over 50 goals a few times now. They're just too good on the power play. They were 32% on the power play last year. I don't expect that to actually continue to be at that historic value, but nevertheless, would 27, 28% surprise me? No. And they draw so many penalties in Edmonton because these players are so fast. They're just so fast. So they're drawing so many more penalties as well. And to have that high percentage, man, they just get that much more chances for those 4-on-3 goals. So I like Draisaitl a lot. And then the last one that's kind of one of the favorites is David Pastrnak. And Pasta's always, he's always up there in the league leaders. Last year, he cracked the 60 goal plateau for the first time, 61 goals. So at plus 900, I'd probably rather take Draisaitl and Pastrnak at plus 700 and 900 than take a McDavid at plus 220, honestly. You're just getting triple the odds there, and these guys can easily win that.
Yeah, that's what I said about Draisaitl. The one thing about him and McDavid is we've seen the struggles in goaltending with Edmonton. So they know they got to put up points. They know they can't just go, oh, well, our defense is really good. We have good goaltending. We get up, we can slow it down. How many games did we see last year where me and you were like, oh, Edmonton down 2-0, time to live bet Edmonton? because like
Yes.
they gotta score. They gotta score. And they gotta score. I mean, we were all over shots on them. We were all over on goals almost all the time. We were like, oh, now's the time to take the over goals. Because it's gonna be like they're gonna end up scoring a bunch of goals in this game to try to get back into it. So yeah, that's something to always keep in mind there. Long shots here. I always feel like there's a couple outside guys that you're like, man, things have to go right, but it could happen. There's a couple guys you have on here that I really like.
Yeah, there's three. I'll mention two, and I want to talk about one. So, Steven Stamkos is at plus 10,000. Will he probably win this award? Probably not. But he's always 40 goals, 41, 42 goals. But at plus 10,000 again, it's too juiced up to not do it. Put a couple bucks on it. I really like Stamkos at plus 10,000 for those odds. Zibanejad, Mika Zibanejad over at the New York Rangers. He's at plus 7,500. He's in the same status as Stamkos. Again, do I think he'll win this? No. But the plus 7,500, he scores goals in bunches. He's usually always at 40 goals or a little bit above as well. This is a guy I would definitely just sprinkle a couple bucks on. But the one that people really need to not only sprinkle a couple bucks on, have to put some sizable amount on it, but put some money on this. Ovechkin's down there at plus 2,500, and Ovechkin's actually going after the goal record. And he may not get it this year, but by next year he's going to get it. They have pretty much said in that organization there in Washington that they know they're not really going to win anything, and all they've been doing is talk about him actually getting that all-time goal award or all-time goal mark there. So he's going to shoot the puck like a maniac as well. So Ovechkin, would it surprise? Yeah, would it surprise any of us if he actually reached 55 to 60 goals? No. And at plus 2,500, I probably like him better than Matthews at plus 550, honestly. So I would say hammer the Ovechkin at plus 2,500.
Yeah, we talked about that the other day, and I'm like, oh yeah, gotta get on that bet. I mean, absolutely have to throw something on Ovechkin there for sure. I love that bet. Selk Trophy, best two-way forward regular season. Who we liking here?
Yeah, so Nico Hischier, because again, we talked about the Devils, how stacked they are. He's the center, is going to drive that line. He's a two-way forward, is going to kill some penalties as well. Plus 350. He's the favorite. But Mitch Marner for Toronto as well, plus 650. I really like that one. You have Elias Pettersson at plus 1,000. But again, the guy I like is Alexander Barkov at plus 1,200.
Yep.
Again, I just think that Florida, with the emergence of Matthew Tkachuk as quote unquote a superstar, and Barkov's really, he's played with Huberdeau in the past, but of course Tkachuk's better. And you got guys like Verhaeghe around him as well, and you got Reinhart. They're going to be a really good team, and I wonder if them going to the Cup Finals last year for the first time really is kind of what they needed to kind of catapult him. And let's face it, as good as Tkachuk is, Barkov's their guy. He is their center. He is the one that actually drives play at plus 1,200. He's a great choice here as part of the favorites anyway.
Yeah, I love that. I like Barkov a ton there. Long shot wise, few other guys out there. His teammate is on the long shot list, which I like as well. Kind of talk about who you like here.
Yeah, so Matthew Tkachuk is on there. His teammate over there in Florida at plus 4,000. This is where we're actually getting above plus 2,500. So you're taking some stabs, but again, these guys are so they're such great players. I mean, how can you discount them? I mean, I see Austin Matthews at plus 2,500 now. He's never been known for killing penalties before because he's never done it. But this year he will be on penalty kill. So a guy like that who's a generational talent, we actually talk about him actually being one of those generational talents that come, by once every 10 to 15, 20 years, whatever. He's one of them. He's scored 60 goals already in a year, but yet they're going to put somebody with that pedigree on the penalty kill and actually start playing that two-way forward position. I mean, I would go Matthews at plus 2,500. Even though he's never done it before. Then you got your usual suspects like Sid Crosby at plus 2,500. Sebastian Aho over in Carolina at plus 3,000, and even Jason Robertson over in Dallas. And again, there's a common theme with all of these is it's all of these. We're basically picking players from the same 10 teams for all these awards, So there's no surprise here. But Robertson at plus 5,000 as well in Dallas, I really like that one. But if I'm picking, go ahead and sprinkle some money on Barkov, and then go ahead and really take a chance with Matthews plus 2,500. I think those are just the best odds there.
Yeah, I like that Matthews plus 2,500 in that spot. So let's jump into the team stuff, like division winners, all that good stuff. Let's get into that. President's Trophy, most team points regular season. Like you said earlier, the Bruins hammered it last year, looked awesome all year, then lost in the first round. Classic hockey. And that's why we love it, because you never know what's going to happen. Who are the favorites? And we'll jump in them first, and then we'll talk about some of the long shots.
Yeah, at Carolina at plus 450, they're the favorite. And you have Edmonton at plus 600. Toronto, Dallas, New Jersey, and Colorado are all at plus 800. And then you have Vegas at plus 1,200. Honestly, and I've said it time and time again on this podcast already, I like Dallas and I like New Jersey. I like the 800 there. They're Dallas especially. They're probably, to me, just the defense they offer, the goaltending they actually have, that's just amazing. Their top line is awesome. They're littered with veterans from top to bottom. They're going to win so many games. I like Dallas best at plus 800 there. Vegas, the defending champs, are at plus 1,200. How do you not consider them, right, as one of the favorites? And again, that's all going to come down to a healthy Jack Eichel. If Eichel is actually healthy and actually plays anywhere from 78 to 80 games or above, they're going to be right there in the mix within the top 4 to 5 records in the entire league again. They always play great defense at Vegas. They got like Pietrangelo, they got Shea Theodore, and that's just to name a couple. They're very, very deep. They got Nick Hague as well. So I love Vegas there at plus 12,000 or 1,200. Again, defending champion. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I'm a Dallas fan at plus 800. I think the schedule works out for them well. Just the division, everything kind of lines up. I think the East is a little better than the West this year. And I like Dallas at plus 800. That's my favorite there. Let's go out on a limb. Somebody we think comes out of nowhere, and there's some like usual suspects on this Hail Mary list that last couple of years they were one of the top 3 favorites. Let's talk about some of the guys sitting on this list.
Yeah, so the New York Rangers, which they're plus 1,300. I'm not going to bet them because I like teams like Florida, Tampa Bay, and Buffalo better. And Florida plus 2,200. Again, we've been talking about Florida the entire time here tonight and how good they are. They may have realized how good they are. As a guy with like Kachuk actually being on the team for the first time last season, and then coming to their own at plus 2,200. But look at this, man. Tampa Bay, just 2 years ago, Tampa Bay went to the Cup Finals 3 years in a row, won back-to-back Cups, plus 6,000. Now, one reason why they're probably at plus 6,000 is because Andre Vasilevsky is actually hurt for the first 2 months of the season. So how many wins in the first 2 months of the season are they going to give up based on that they're going to rely on a couple, really, I'd say unproven goaltenders that are going to be in tandem there, young, unproven goaltenders. But at plus 6,000, you got guys like Kucherov, you got Stamkos, you got Hagel, you got Hedman, you got Sergachev. There's too many good players. Again, veteran talent around. They're loaded from top to bottom. If they can get even remotely average goaltending, they might be able to hang on. They're the play at plus 6,000. If I'm going to play President's Trophy, I'm playing them. Buffalo plus 8,000. Again, they're the new sexy pick. But I don't really see them actually really doing this. And the reason why is they're going to rely on Devin Levi, their rookie goaltender, to be their main goalie. But Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, UPL, will also be the other timeshare goalie that will be playing for them, and their goaltending's been unproven. So they got so much firepower on the blue line with Dahlin, and then also too on their top six is just absolutely loaded. They're starting to actually not believe that they're starting in this win now mode, but the goaltending just maybe still not there. They're going to be a really, really good team, but will they win the President's Trophy? Probably not. But at plus 8,000, I mean, you got to definitely sprinkle just a few dollars on it. Hey, go ahead and just reach underneath
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm
cushion
thinking.
of the couch,
Yeah, I
get
like
$3,
Buffalo a
put it on
ton
there.
too. Yeah, I like. Yep. Absolutely, I love it because I mean I don't think Buffalo can do it. I think they're a really good team. I think they're going to be in the mix. But your Tampa Bay plus 6,000, like you said, they got enough offense. If the goaltending is not great at the beginning, I could see them making that happen. I really do like that. And how good have they been in the last decade? Like at plus 6,000, I'm loving the Lightning there.
Yeah, as since the Hawks went on their dynasty run from I'd say 2009 to 2016, it's been them since. I mean, so there was their churn after that. From 2015 they were in the Cup Finals, first the Hawks, and then all the way to like 2021, 2022, they had an amazing 7-8 year run there where it was them and it was everybody else. I mean, they were that good. So and really, JT, we'll kind of I'll blanket all these where we don't have to when we talk about the Cup champions. It's the same. It's the same list. This is the President's Trophy. I mean,
Mhm.
there's going to be no difference at all here in these teams. It's a matter of who do you actually like to win the cup? And this is really a wild stab, right? As we know, anything can happen in the NHL playoffs. So your guess is as good as mine who could actually win. That's why I would
Yep.
never put any sizable amounts or any sizable units on the favorites here, because odds are the favorites aren't going to win. It's going to just, you don't know. So that's why I would go ahead and look towards these people these teams like Dallas at plus 1,400. Vegas at plus 1,200. You even got Florida at plus 1,600 and Tampa Bay at plus 2,000. And then you got Buffalo at plus 3,500. So I like the teams like Florida. I like the Florida teams. Florida and Tampa Bay at plus 1,600, plus 2,000. Dallas at plus 1,400. Even New Jersey Devils at plus 900. But I'm probably not betting this one. There's other bets and futures I like better than actually the champion, because it's just too difficult.
I always feel like it's so hard to bet Stanley Cup champ at the beginning of the season before the season gets underway.
Oh yeah.
Hockey just so much changes throughout the year. I don't mind laying a bet once I get into the year a little ways and closer to the end of the year, maybe jumping into something before the playoffs start. But man, I just always feel like it's so hard to put on a bet preseason to win the Stanley Cup. It just seems so difficult and so much stuff changes. Like you said, it's one if I really like someone that's super long odds, I like maybe throwing, like you said, 10, 15, 20 bucks on it. But I'm never going to go big early. Yeah, if I'm going to go big, I'm going to wait till I really feel the season out before I want to jump in. And not if I'm going to do that, then I'm going to jump in before the playoffs start. And I'm either going to take a team I really like, I think that can win it, or I'm going to pick up like a matchup bet for who's going to play in the NHL in the finals. Those are kind of like where I lean on that side.
Yeah, and I'm with you there, JT. And honestly, I know we plan on maybe covering division winners as well, but that's probably even again probably a topic there we can probably skip over, because again it's the same teams. There's no surprise here. I wouldn't go with any of the favorites being like Colorado in the Central, in the Pacific, Edmonton, Atlantic. You'll have Toronto, the Metropolitan. You actually have Carolina, because again, the volatility of goaltending, the injuries that actually can plague this team over an 82-game regular season. This is one where I would say 50% of the time or less, somebody else other than the favorites actually winning. These divisions. So these are probably something else I would actually stay away from. But if you're wanting to actually do that, again, I would go ahead and lean towards those Florida teams, Florida and then Tampa Bay in the Atlantic. Toronto's goaltending in the Atlantic is a little iffy. Boston's lost a whole lot in the Atlantic. From Bergeron and Krejci actually retiring. They're up against a cap as well. And then Buffalo still has yet to supplant these teams that have done it right. I like Florida at plus 450, and I like Tampa Bay at plus 800 in the Atlantic. I wouldn't touch any other division for winners because, again, of the volatility, but I like those.
Yeah, so what I like to do, I'm very rare that I just take a straight up division winner preseason. What I do like to do is I like to throw in, you know me, JT parlay. I like to throw a little parlay action in here. So I like to pick a division winner from each one, put them together in a parlay. Then you can really bump those odds. Then it's like, hey man, that $10 that can win you 2, 3, 4 grand because you pick every division. Now, are your chances of hitting it long? Of course, they're real long. Anytime you do a parlay, it's long. But that's one I like to sprinkle in. Just a real like $5 or $10 bet. Jump in. I'd say, thrown in like a Dallas at plus 155 in the Central. Jump on maybe Vegas at plus 260 in the Pacific, Florida plus 450 in the Atlantic, and then the Metro, maybe you jump on either a favorite like Carolina plus 180 or New Jersey at plus 240. That is something I feel much more comfortable doing. Now, is it still a crazy long shot? Absolutely, it's a crazy long shot. But I'd almost rather do that than just put $100 on Edmonton plus 165 to win the Pacific. To me, I'm like, that's too long of a season. There's too much out there. It just doesn't seem worth it for me to tie up money on something like that. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to take division winners. I'm going to sprinkle in a little of the favorites with a little bit of the longer shots, and I'm going to see if I can hit something big, crazy. And if I don't, I'm not going to sweat it. It's 10, $20. I can make that up easily throughout the season.
Yeah. Definitely something to consider. I like your I like the way you're going to tackle that. I definitely wouldn't put just a single bet on any of these that of any sizable amount. I just wouldn't do it. So I mean, we're going to get to talking here, player props for the season here as well, and that's going to be better. If you really want to actually have a better chance at winning money, you can go ahead and do this.
Mm. Yeah, let's jump into player season total props. See, this is something I'd much rather jump on than who's going to win the division, who's going to win the Stanley Cup preseason. I'd rather jump on these player props. I just feel like you have a little bit more handle on how these guys play. Obviously, injuries always play into it. If a guy gets hurt, that crushes his over. If you take anything over, if a guy gets hurt, you take the under. Obviously, that helps you a ton. Me and you always talk about it. Most bettors, we don't like to take those unders. You hate to root against somebody or root for an injury. So I don't like to do that, even though, sometimes you see value and you take that value. Let's talk about some of your favorite player props for the season.
Yeah, so let's talk about total goals scored throughout the regular season. Most of these, again, DraftKings, we're talking about bets that are close to even money. They're anywhere between minus 105 to minus 120, somewhere around there. And again, if you had the option to parlay any of them, that's great. Now will the platform allow you to actually do that? Maybe not, but if they do, it's definitely the way to go is to parlay some of these together. But love Sasha Barkov over in Florida, 28.5. So these are all overs I want to talk about here, but 28.5 over on the goals. He shot under 10% last year. That's not going to happen again. He's going to be way better than that. So that's not many goals for a team that actually scores that many as a team. Cole Caulfield over in Montreal, 32.5. All of these players as well, traditionally, the reason I'm kind of picking them out as well, they play on, most of them anyway, play on high-powered offenses, but also, too, they all had the pedigree of health. Sustainability. They're usually not on the shelf. They don't get injured. David Pastrnak, 47.5 goals. He scored 61 last year. You think he is usually always leads the league in shots on goal, right around there. He's usually the league leader. I think last year he was the only guy to actually hit over 400. He's going to be, if health is not an issue, 47.5 is going to be nothing. He'll make that. Elias Pettersson over in Vancouver, 35.5. Jack Hughes, 42.5. Man, I'm thinking that's a lot of goals for Hughes. He made it over last year. Last year he was actually at 43, so right at that number. But they're better. They're better as a team. I think that Hughes is just going to be better as well. So I like that one. I don't like it as much as the Pastrnak one, That's my favorite in this entire thing. But Mika Zibanejad as well for the Rangers, 35.5. And then Steven Stamkos. I'm not really sure why they had Stamkos' total so low for Tampa Bay at 33.5. That shocked me a little bit. I thought that'd be somewhere around 37.5, 38.5. So I think that Stamkos at 33.5 and Pasternak at 47.5. Those are your two best plays when it comes to season goals.
Number, and I thought, hey, this is an age thing. Maybe they're thinking he's going to get hurt. Maybe something's going to happen, because that number seemed low to me at 33.5. I like that number, and that's the one thing that jumped out at me. Is like, oh, maybe they're kind of expecting maybe an injury, maybe less ice time, but that feels low to me at 33.5.
Yeah, it does. And again, I think a lot of these users have to go by gut feeling, like, why does it actually feel low? Now, last year he had only 34 goals. Okay. So 34 goals,
Mm-hmm.
50 assists. He shot 240 times. And, but what you got to notice as well is last year he only shot 14.2%. And this is a guy who actually on average shoots close to 17%. So you end up you include 3 more percentage points on that many shots on goal. I mean, he was at 34 last year. 34 last year, and he set at 33 this year. And that his shooting percentage is going to go up. It's not going to continue to stay down there. So I love that one. They've undervalued that one, and people got to jump on Stamkos.
Let's talk about total wins goalie. This is another one. We said goalies are so, you just never know where we're going with them. They can be all over the place. If you had to take a goalie bet, which ones are you taking?
Jake Ottinger for Dallas. And again, because he will get all the starts, the majority of them anyway. He'll probably start in the crease close to 70 times, maybe 65 to 70 starts. I mean, the backup's probably going to get 15 to 17 starts in the regular season. He'll get all of them. And you got to think, if he's starting 65 times, is he going to be, can he win 36 out of those 60 times? Yeah, they're going to be well over 50%. They're going to be. I mean, so Ottinger at 35.5, you definitely hammer that over. I really, really like that. And then Vanacek for the Jersey Devils. Now he is going to be maybe splitting some time with Schmidt, but Vanacek is obviously, he's the clear favorite. And again, New Jersey, I think they were over 50 wins last year for the very first time in a long time. And again, that's traditionally been a younger team. They've been in the rebuild over the past 3-4 seasons, and now they finally arrived. 26.5 on the wins for Vanacek. I really, really like that too. If he even has a save percentage of somewhere between 905 to 910, which ends up being, that's league average around there, I think he'll get to that 26.5. And the only thing that's going to keep him from doing that is if he just goes off the rails early in the first month of the season, or there ends up being an injury. But barring injury, which is very, very funny to say with goalies, because that's a funny statement in general. And also too, if he can get off to a good start, I love 26.5 for him.
Yep, I like both those as well. When you pick those out, I was like, yeah, I can totally see those happening. What about some parlay specials? They don't call me JT Parlay for nothing. I love the parlays. Throw me out some of your special parlays you might like this year.
Yeah, DraftKings actually just offered this a tab called Parlay Specials. I got to looking at them, like, oh, I picked out 3 that I really liked. One, mainly because I'm a Hawks fan, but also two, because I watch a lot of the Hawks. They have a parlay special at even money at -105 for Lucas Reichel or Gutman to score 20 goals, either one of those players. Now, Gutman probably isn't going to, but Lucas Reichel will. Reichel last year for the Hawks, he ended up having 13 points in 21 games. And he was a guy that was drafted, I think 17th overall in the 2021 draft. He was way, way up there. Really lit it up in the AHL. He's actually in the NHL to stay. And again, you're on a power play. Well, he hasn't been on a power play yet with Bedard, but I believe he actually will. But he's their second best player on that entire team. He's a guy. He's a corner piece they're going to build around. 20 goals for him. He's going to get all the time in the world. Nobody says to supplant him. He's going to shoot a lot. He'll probably have over 220 shots on goal as well. I love 20 goals from Reichel. Tage Thompson. Here's what I love. Tage Thompson to score 4 goals in a game at any point in this season, plus 350. I think he did it last year, if I remember right. I think he did put up 4 one time, but he scored a few hat tricks as well. And I'm actually going to look that up right now while because I want to see specifically. I'm pretty sure that he did.
Yeah, he had some monster games last year, so I can totally see that 4 goals at plus 350. You know, if you want to sprinkle something in there, because he has some huge games again. Their offense is going to be pretty legit. I could see him having a monster outing one of these nights.
Yeah, he had 47 goals last year, 295 shots on goal as well. I don't specifically have his stats here or how many hat tricks he actually had, but nevertheless, he's gonna get some hat tricks this year. I guarantee he'll get you a handful of hat tricks. And can he get up to 4? Absolutely. Again, that's one where if you could parlay it, amazing. That'd be great. But here's the best one on the parlay special. Alex Ovechkin to have 350 shots on goal at plus 800. Last year he had 300. And he's right around there usually. Does he reach the 350 often? Not often. But that's their sole purpose on that team, is to get him the puck and have him score, to go after the scoring title, the all-time scoring title for goals. Gretzky, I think, has it like at 813. He's like 80 goals off or something like that, somewhere around there. Like there, he's gonna shoot. 350 shots on goal. It's a plus 800. Love that one. Put some money on that.
Yeah, I love that one as well. Like I think you're right. I think they're gonna set him up all year. And anytime he has any kind of look, they're gonna be just like pull the trigger every time. So I love that. I think he's gonna go a ton. So we always talk about this at the beginning of the year. As soon as the season starts, you have a little bit of a window where you can get some really nice player props, and you can get them for a month or two before things start really swinging and everybody else starts jumping on them. And then all of a sudden the lines get crazy bad, the juice gets bad, or we've seen it, they just come off the board. You can't even bet them anymore. So what are some ones to be looking out for right as the season starts to get underway and hammer before you see the odds go through the roof or you see them get pulled completely off the sites?
Yes. Connor McDavid assists. Last year he had over 90 assists. He had 64 goals and he had 90 assists, I believe, for 154 points. If you think about that, 90 assists, and he played 80 games. I think he played 80 out of 82 games, somewhere around there. So he's over an assist a game. The assists will be at plus 1.5 for McDavid. So he has got to get over, he's got to get 2 assists or more in a game. And usually they actually give you that right around maybe plus 175. I love to say, you know what, being aggressive. You actually look at the matchup he has. You see if the team actually is in a penalty box quite a bit, that they actually play, that they cause a lot of penalties, that they draw a lot of penalties. The team they're actually playing, they give up the most shots, you know. So you start looking at those trends. And when McDavid is going up against anybody, and quite frankly, I don't care who it is, but especially if they're end up being like a bottom half team, you play the 1.5 assists over every night. Do that, because when he gets on one of his rolls and you start looking at his statistics over like a 15 game period, he'll hit that like 85% of the time. I won't even mess with betting him on goals. I would get him on assists. So you're going to get the better odds. And he's touching the puck on every single possession he's actually in there, because he's amazing. So he gets a lot of secondary assists as well. It doesn't matter if it's primary versus secondary assists. Get him on the assists. Love Connor McDavid. I love to parlay that with something else.
Yeah, we were all over it, and I'm going to jump slightly ahead here, but shots on goal. We were able to get shots on goal with him last year pretty early in the year at reasonable odds before they started going through the roof. So shots on goal is one we like to hit up a lot. If there's certain players where we're at, look at the thing, and you can kind of parlay. A lot of times the biggest issues you can't, what we've seen in the past, you can't parlay guys in the same game. But if you pick up 3 or 4 guys you like in multiple games, playing different games, you can kind of throw those shot goals, like, or assists, or all that together in a parlay. Shots on goal is one I think we got to talk about, because that's one of my favorite betting tools throughout the season on a night to night basis in hockey.
Yeah, get them early, like you said. You got to get on early in the season before they jack them up. So if they offer McDavid at 3.5 shots on goal or in the season close to even money, play that. Same thing with David Pastrnak. If they give him a 3.5 goal over, you play that one every single time, because eventually he'll be 4.5. They will never go over 4.5. That is the line. That is the max. They'll never move players to 5.5. Pastrnak had over 400 shots on goal last year. That was about 45 to 50 more shots on goal than anybody else in the league last year. And they still never took him over 4.5. But was he ever at 3.5? Well, if he was, it was for a very short period of time at the very beginning of the season. It wouldn't shock me at all if you end up looking at Boston. They play the Hawks on Wednesday night. And it would not shock me at all if they just started him off at 4.5 and didn't have the opportunity to get him at 3.5. But if you do, you got to play that every single time he's at 3.5. It doesn't matter who they're playing, because this guy is a shot machine, and he'll get him in bunches. When I say shots in bunches, it's nothing for him to be like 9 shots on goal, 7, then 10. Like, he just gets on these rolls, man, where he just puts some unbelievable shot amounts in a given game. I love him. Brady Tkachuk as well. He's always over 300 shots on goal for Ottawa. He's all around great player. McKinnon does actually have some health issues. From time to time he's missed some games, but nevertheless, when he actually is in there, especially with the Landeskog guy actually being out for the season, that's just going to be even more opportunities for him to shoot. And they've lost some of their players. Colorado has, due to, again, some cap issues and whatnot. So I really like McKinnon to even up the shots on goal even more this year. And we already talked about Ovechkin. We know you gotta hit that. Again, they give him 3.5. He's always going to be 3.5. You take him at 3.5. And then Timo Meier would be very, very interesting. He probably should start off at 3.5. But if they offer any 2.5s, got to jump on Timo Meier with the New Jersey Devils. I think that it'll probably won't be 2.5. They'll probably start him off at 3.5. But if they do 2.5, jump on them.
Another one, assists and goals, they're always fun to bet, but they're a little tough to figure out. One of the ones we've really liked the last couple of years is the power play points. That seems where you could get some really nice odds if you have the right matchups. Let's talk about briefly here as we get ready to close out the show. Talk about kind of power play points, some of the things you look for there.
So I love highlighting the top 7-8 teams in the league traditionally that have the best power play in the league, and then saying, all right, well, how many penalties do they draw? And they draw a ton of penalties. Like Edmonton draws a ton of penalties, and again, they convert like this ridiculous rate. So then don't go out and put McDavid and bet McDavid to bet Draisaitl, but bet Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. You'll get Hopkins at a better odds. And with a power play point, the majority of their power, like Nugent-Hopkins, for example, last year, he scored 104 points. JT, 52 of them were on a power play. Half his points were on a power play. I mean, wrap your head around that. So players like that, why would you ever play them at even strength on a bet? You always should be on a power play because he gets half his points that way. So and don't get the mainstay guys. Get the ones that are actually the third or fourth fiddle on the power play one for the teams that are traditionally in the top 10 in the power play in the league, and bet those guys. And you're gonna get like at one power play point, you're gonna get like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins to be like at plus 205 or plus 210. Well, think about that. That's like betting him as an assist, and he would be like even money an assist, or maybe even minus 125. Well, odds are it's going to be a power play point anyway. Go ahead and double or triple your odds there. So you got to look at players like that and point them out. But I would again urge you, get the guys on Boston, get the guys on Edmonton, get the guys on the New Jersey Devils as well. These power plays are going to be potent, and get their third or fourth best player on that power play and bet those guys.
Yeah, absolutely love it. If you guys got any more questions about, who to take, who not to take bets, we're going to be throwing out some stuff throughout the season. Make sure you check our X pages. I'm at JT Orange. He's at Toast Clark. Those are good spots where we'll throw on some of our favorite bets. I'll throw on some of my JT Parlay play of the days on there. During hockey season, we'll have a lot of collab bets between me and you and stuff we like. So definitely check us out there. I think our time is about up tonight, but great show. Toast, I loved it. I'm going to be getting in putting these bets in tonight right after we get done with the show. Make sure you jump on and get these bets in tomorrow before games start. So some of these bets will come off the board and some of them the lines will just adjust depending on what they are. But some of these, if you don't put them in before the season starts, you might not have a chance to put them in for a while. Some books pull them after the season starts. So make sure you check that out and get every bet you want into. Any last words here, Toast, before we head out?
JT, let's put a plug into the listeners to make sure to go to the the Brew with JT's Stu over at X, because I think we're going to end up doing our toast takes and really your and I's best parlay of the day. And we'll be posting that for tomorrow. There's 3 games on the slate tomorrow to open up the season. I've already got 3 different bets actually placed. We'll be ready to rock and roll, but we'll go ahead and post that online as well. So anybody wants to tail, feel free.
Yeah, make sure you guys get on, follow, subscribe us, leave us comments. We'll respond to them. You can check us out on Spotify, this on the Stu with JT Brew YouTube channel. So make sure to check us out. We are going to be back all season bringing you NHL Around the Ice, usually Wednesday nights, but we might make some adjustments as the season goes on and in time. But definitely check X out. Follow me at JT Orange. Follow at Toast Clark. That's where we're going to be posting a ton of our betting material, just because it's faster for us to throw it on there as opposed to doing a show all the time. So definitely make sure you follow us on there. Like that, hit the bell. So anytime we're making posts, you see the posts we make and do that. So hockey season's finally here, Toast. Super pumped about it. Gonna be a great year. We appreciate everybody checking us out, and make sure you like and subscribe. The Stew, thanks for joining us. May all your bets hit this season. Have a good one, guys. We're out.
You up on trades and why you move? You ain't designed to lose. Find you jumping over seemingly nothing, racking up points, makes the game a little more fun to watch. Can drop release. We start